IFR, which makes sense because if there's no approach, we can't fly instruments. So other than that, we also need to take into account any alternate minimums specified on the approach. So this is maybe a little small, so I'm going to zoom up a little bit. If on our approach we see, that sounded bad. Sorry. I'll be back. I'll be back to you guys in a second. 1 second. I want to try and finish like each section. So if we see this little A and then NA, that means this approach is not authorized as an alternate approach. So you either have to pick a different approach at that airport or another airport entirely. So if it's A here, just like this without the NA, then either there are certain times when it is not authorized or that standard that we talked about over here is different. So we have to check that and make sure. Bum, bum, bum. All right, so pre-flight. Okay, final page for the pre-flight. So 91-167 fuel requirements. So for this, we must go have enough fuel to the first airport of intended landing, from there to the alternate if it's required, which we just talked about, and then an additional 45 minutes at normal cruising speed. So 30 minutes for VFR, 45 minutes for IFR. Well, 30 minutes for VFR during the day, 45 minutes at night, straight 45 minutes requirement extra for IFR flight. Keeping in mind, have your own set of personal minimums. When you're flying IFR, there's a higher potential to be potentially caught in poorer weather. So you want to make sure you're keeping your options available and having enough fuel to get somewhere so you can get out of any potential situations that pop up. Hopefully they don't pop up because weather, pre-flight briefing and stuff. Anyway, okay, sorry, coming back. It was you as soon as you were seeing things where this was real. The stream stopped, don't know. Are we back though? Are we good? Hello, we are back. Okay. Sorry about that. That's why I'm saying I'm a little concerned about trying to start the sim. I did not think about that. So if we can't start the sim, then I guess y'all are just gonna be subject to more more PowerPoints for the rest of the stream. But we'll see. We will plan to do it. I would like to get in the air because I have a flight to recreate again. So yes. Search and rescue, no! We have been searched and rescued. That didn't sound right either. Okay, continuing. So, IFR departures now. In order to depart IFR, FAR 91-173, ATC, and flight plans. So, we cannot fly, we cannot operate under instrument flight rules unless we have filed a flight plan. So, different from VFR, we definitely don't need a flight plan. In America, it's different elsewhere, but in America, we don't need to file a flight plan for VFR operations. IFR, we do. And we also need to receive the appropriate ATC clearance for that. FAR 91-175, taking off IFR. 0-0 takeoffs. So having a zero visibility, zero ceiling is legal technically under Part 91. If you look at this, our civil airport takeoff minimums, this paragraph applies to persons operating an aircraft under Part 121, 125, 129, or 135 of this chapter. So, does not include 91. 0-0 takeoff is legal. But we want to consider legality versus safety. It is I don't know why it does that. Thank you. Thank you. For some reason, I do. I swear, I click something or I wave my hands in a certain way and I mute myself. And I don't know how or why. Sorry. Okay. I don't know where, I think we were still talking about takeoff minimums. So I'll just quick re-go over that. So 00 takeoffs, legal under Part 91, consider the legality versus safety. Recommended to use published takeoff minimums or approach minimums as guidelines, considering a forced. I had like a little, feel like a little critter. I had like a little, feel like a little critter where it's like, oh, lost and found, sort of, and then it runs away again. Sorry. Apologies. No, did I go down again? Ah! We should. Yes. We'll hope that that's gonna not. Let me double check. I haven't had any complaints yet, so fingers crossed. I mean, apart from the fact that we keep going down, but yes, we'll see. Sorry, we're back. Yes, we're back. We are back. We are getting dug back. 14 CFR 91 and IFR en route. 91-177 takes into account, well, I am actually going to bring this up a little bit, maybe, yeah, so that you guys can see it better. There we go. You know what that is? That's much better. Sorry. FAR 91-177 minimum IFR altitudes. So we talked a little bit earlier in the intro about flying in instrument conditions. We can fly IFR in visual conditions, but once we're on those instrument conditions, we are relying on the data of our instruments. So we need to be adhering to specific altitudes to make sure that we're not going to run into anything, as well as so that we can receive proper navigation signals and things like that. So, except for takeoffs and landings, we are not allowed to operate below our applicable minimum altitudes in parts 90, 95, and 97, which we'll come back to, if we have both an MEA, our minimum en route altitude, and a minimum obstruction clearance altitude. We are, so let's go over that for a second. So this is our MEA, minimum en route altitude is 4,000. That deals with both obstacles as well as navigation signal coverage. And then 2,200 with the star is our minimum obstruction clearance altitude, which just deals with our obstruction clearance, because minimum obstruction clearance altitude, as well as navigation signal coverage for a VOR within 22 nautical miles of that VOR. So for this bit of the regulation, if we have both an MEA and a MoCA, we are allowed to operate below the MEA with the nav signals that we need, but we're not allowed to go below the MoCA. So if we have nav signals, we can go below the MEA because we have obstacle clearance coverage. Not allowed to go below the MoCA, even if we have nav signals, because then we might not have obstruction clearance. So if, for this one, the MEA and the MoCA, if we have both of those, we can only go below the, hang on. I might have gotten that mixed up. The MEA, hang on. Yeah, no, yeah. See, now I'm getting myself mixed up. So the 22 nautical miles of a VOR, we can go below the MEA within 22 nautical miles of a VOR if we're using the VOR as a navigational aid. So if we're using a GPS, we can go below our MEA, but not below the MoCA on this particular route. Yes, that. I'm gonna have to look at that again. It is, it's, I go over this, and then all of a sudden I tongue tie myself. Apologies. If there is no minimum prescribed, in non-mountainous areas, we must be above 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet above the highest obstacle within 4 nautical miles, of course. So it takes into account altitude as well as lateral. Mountainous areas gives us a little bit more room. We need to be 2,000 feet above the highest obstacle within 4 nautical miles, of course. If we have to change Okay, yes, so that's why I put this in here. So we have also our off-route obstruction clearance altitudes, our OROCA. So that is off-route. So when we're not on a route that is coming from some navigational aid or is not charted, we have our off-route obstruction clearance altitudes, which are the IFR equivalent to our maximum elevation figures on the chart supplement. So this provides us with these, or it should provide us with this stuff. These things, yes. Yeah. Altitude change. If we have to change altitude, we must climb to the higher minimum IFR altitude immediately after the point beyond which the next minimum altitude applies. So say we're going from 8,500, we're going this way, 8,500 up to 11,500, we can start our climb at Swanee. When there are ground obstructions, we will be crossing our point at or above our minimum clearance altitude. So that is indicated here by this flag with an X, as well as under, this is our Trots intersection. If we are going on Victor 468 to the northeast, we have to climb from 10,000 to 11,500, but we have to cross Trots at that 11,500. So, rule of thumb, oh no! Oh no! Are we still, hang on. Are we like gone entirely? Hello? Oh, okay. My thing says we're offline. Okay. I felt so lonely for a second. It's like if I know you guys are there, I'm like, okay, we're good. But okay, sorry. For some reason my thing is indicating offline, but it appears that we are here. So apologies. More existential crises. Thank you. All right, so continuing, I guess. So yes, so rule of thumb, I haven't actually found where this is, so yeah, but I haven't found where this is, but this has always been like a thing. I can't remember where I heard it, but if you if you start your climb at the T here, you should cross your intersection at the altitude that you're supposed to. Again, only a rule of thumb, make sure that you are crossing that altitude or crossing that point at the altitude that is prescribed. Oops. All right, continuing IFR en route. So we had our, altitudes, and now our cruising altitudes or flight levels. FAR 91, 179. If we are in uncontrolled airspace, if we're in uncontrolled airspace and we're below 18,000 MSL, we're going to use our magnetic course as usual. And for 0 to 179 degrees, so going east, we're going to use an odd 1,000 MSL. And for 180 to 359, we're going to use an even 1,000 MSL. That's going west. Sounds familiar, right? So controlled airspace, then we're going to maintain whatever altitude or flight level was assigned by ATC. It's likely going to follow our uncontrolled designation above, but beware that expectation bias. If we're cleared for VFR on top, we're maintaining an altitude based on 91,159, which is our VFR cruising altitudes. And that's that odd 1,000, even 1,000, plus 500. All right, so altitude, now our course, FAR 91, 181. Our course, we must be on an air traffic service route along the airway centerline. Any other route, we must be on a direct course between navigational aids and fixes. We are allowed to maneuver to pass well clear of other aircraft as well as clear our intended flight path, but we do need to return back to that course as required. 91-183, our communications. We must monitor the frequency we're supposed to be on and report any of the following as soon as possible. The time and altitude passing any designated or ATC desired reporting points. If we're under radar control, we don't need to report any designated points, but we do need to still report any ATC requested points. Monitoring frequency and reporting unforecast weather as well as any other information relating to flight safety. If we have a communications failure, FAR 91 185, this is a big one. And what this deals with, so this section deals with when we should continue as filed or when we should deviate from that plan. What these things do is it's preventing extended IFR operations without communications, because that does end up being an emergency situation in certain conditions. So to start with, if we're in visual conditions, when we lose communications, we want to continue in visual conditions if possible and land as soon as practicable, contact ATC and figure that stuff out on the ground. If we're in instrument conditions, we're going to continue the flight as follows here. What this is going to do, what this is meant to do, is to promote aircraft separation and safety, as ATC then knows what we are going to do, what we're doing, as well as what we are going to do if we're following this. So the big things is, what direction are we going to go? What route are we taking? The next one is going to be, what altitude are we supposed to fly? So for our route, we're going to follow these in order. Avenue F. So we follow whatever was last assigned, our last clearance received, whatever our vector last was, so from the failure point to wherever we're being vectored. If we didn't have any of those, whatever ATC advised us to expect, and if we didn't have that either, whatever was filed. Follow what our flight plan was. Then for our altitude, we want to make sure we're not going to crash into anything, and as well as still have navigation signal coverage, hopefully. So we're going to take the highest of Amy. So Amy lives at Avenue F. So the highest of assigned, whatever our last clearance was received, the minimum for IFR operation that we talked about up there, as well as what to expect, whatever ATC advised us to expect. So if we were on something that was assigned, but the minimum altitude for IFR operation is higher than that, we're going to fly that. If what ATC told us to expect is higher than either of those, we're going to fly that one. Again, obstruction clearance is what we want. So then, leaving the clearance limit, whatever our limit was for what we were cleared to. This one is a little bit tricky. But it does. Just talking about it here is just kind of weird, but understand with that. Oh no! We coming back. Well, I'm dealing with a bot at the moment, so that works out for all of us, I guess. Apologies. I don't think you missed anything, though. I noticed right away, I think. So yes, it appears we're back. Okay, so leaving the clearance limit. I'm gonna do a, after we're done like going over the stuff. So if our clearance limit, if we're at a fix from where an approach does not begin, we're gonna leave our clearance limit at the expect further clearance time if one was received. If we didn't have one, we're just going to leave upon arrival, proceed to a fix from which an approach begins, start a descent as close as possible to the ETA calculated from filed or amended estimated time en route. So let's say we are going, hang on. Let's actually, I kind of want to, let's go over this one after. Remind me to go over this after, once we pick where we're going. Well, so yeah, so basically what it's going to be is, so our clearance limit often is going to be the airport, our destination airport. So what would happen is, if we're en route and our clearance limit is just the airport, we would have to, according to this procedure, we would fly directly to, we would go all the way to the airport. So that is not where an approach begins, potentially. That's not where an approach begins. So once, if we got an expect further clearance, hello again. Checking. Oh, you know what else I need to do? Hang on. There. Pausing that one at least. Hello? Okay. Okay. We'll see if that helps a little bit, maybe. Malfunction! Reporting malfunctions! A malfunction has occurred. So this would deal with 91.187. Stream drop. PIC shall report to ATC any malfunctions of now. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say one thing. Up here in our communications failure, like I said, it is at that point, loss of communications is considered an emergency. Depending on the situation, it can be considered an emergency. So if like what my instructor meant, well maybe I shouldn't say was like, if for this, if we are en route and our clearance limit is the airport and it made more sense to fly to our initial approach fix, just go there and then go, it's a big one, and so I'll wait until our stream comes back up again. I'm sorry. I'll be back. Checking. It appears we are back. Okay. We'll keep at it. Struggle. Where were we? Here. All right. So, IFR approaches. This is a big one. FAR 91-175. For our approach specifically, A and C, we are going to use the approach given in Part 97, or use an approach given in Part 97. And we are not going to operate below our minimum descent altitude or continue below our decision altitude or decision height unless 3 things need to be true. We are in a continuous position to land at a normal descent rate using normal maneuvers. So we need to be having a stable approach. Yeah. That comes into play once we actually like look at the approaches a little bit more. 2, this is the one that I always would forget, and I haven't now because I talked to friend instructor about it and he asked me it, and I was like, I gave these 2 thinking that they were, this one was 1 and this one was the other, and then this one was 3, and I was like, I don't think that the what's it called? I feel like these are like in the same one, and I feel like I'm forgetting one, and this is the one that I was forgetting, and now I don't forget anymore. So the flight visibility must at least meet the approach requirement. And then 3, we must have at least 1, more is better, visual references visible and identifiable. We don't want to be seeing, oh yes, one of these things. Well, okay, pause for that. So our approach light system, if we see our approach light system, we can then descend to 100 feet above touchdown zone elevation only, so that we have a little bit better visibility. Any further descent requires the red terminating bars or red side row bars. Any of the others, for our visual reference, we are allowed to continue the landing. Threshold or threshold lights, the real or VASI, touchdown zone and touchdown zone markings or touchdown zone lights, or runway markings or runway lights. So, keeping in mind, PPL are paint, pavement, and lights. We need to actually have the runway visible and identified. Pausing. I don't know, do you guys think that it would restarting work? Hello, best. No. Oh, I guess I'll wait until I know that I'm actually back to scold you. Okay, we're back. No. Hello. Good to see you. No. Not best, not a Twitch CFI, all of the things are incorrect. But I will say hello. But yeah, I think we're back again for a little bit. We'll see. So yes, so I did. I think it's a bandwidth and internet problem, and that's why like doing it later for me is better, because I'm not fighting with other people having to use it. So yes, we'll see. We'll if it does it again, I'm gonna try and be quick on the trigger, and I'll quick stop the streaming entirely, exit out, and try to come back in. So yes, before it like restarts again. Many drops. Yeah, I know. I'm still like optimistic. What's the word? Inadvisably optimistic, but we'll see. So approaches. Continuing on our approaches. We're still in FAR 91-175. Our missed approach. We are going to immediately execute a missed approach when the requirements for I saw a thing. Okay. It's got a mind of its own now. Okay. So yeah, so the different possibilities, the different possibilities are you get to your MDA, you scoot along at the MDA, and then go missed approach at the missed approach point. For this one specifically. So again, if you go below the MDA or DADH because you had these things in place, and then you lose them, then you would do missed approach. If you got to the MDA, didn't have any of those, and then got to the missed approach point, you go missed. If you get to the DADH, don't have any of these, then you go missed. If you're circling and an identifiable part of the airport is not visible during that maneuver, whether or not you are at or above the MDA, because you should, well, yeah, you should be at or above the MDA, but then you will go missed. Except for normal banking that is required for the circle. So if you are bank, you lose your visual / identifiable stuff, then you would, if you would get it back once you stop banking, then you're fine. More like if you fly into a cloud during your circling maneuver, then you're gonna go ahead, go missed. So I guess I'm gonna just tell that story then quick because in case we don't get to the flying with the technical issues. So I was able to fly with Friend Instructor, and we did mock Checkride, and we did a circling approach, and he goes, all right, so you flew into a cloud while we're circling. So we start the circle, and he says, okay, you flew into a cloud. And I was like, I did. I went immediately back to this part, and I was like, that's what I'm supposed to do, right? So I'm like, yep. So identifiable part of the airport not visible. We're gonna go missed. So climb towards the airport, and then continued the climb, onto the missed approach. So if we execute a missed approach early, so let's say that we get down to our MDA and we're still like very thickly in the clouds, we can always execute and decide on and execute a missed approach early. But we want to make, like, we can climb, but we're not going to turn before our missed approach point or exceed any maximum altitudes on our approach. There aren't the ones that we've been doing, we haven't been seeing maximum altitudes, but just keeping in mind that that can be a possibility. All right, 91-175 and procedure turn limitations. So some of these are in this are in this FAR, and some of them are in the AIM. So to keep them all, we have an acronym for it. So, okay. So yes, our acronym is if we do not fly a procedure turn unless we're cleared for it, if a snort. So in the absence of a procedure turn barb, so here's our procedure turn barb. If that is not there, we don't do a procedure turn. If we're conducting a straight in approach, no procedure turn. If it says no PT, so this right here, no PT, or this over here, if we're coming from this direction to that fix, we do not do a procedure turn. If we're on radar vectors, or if we are on a timed approach, we do not do a procedure turn. All right, 91, done. 14 CFR 95, IFR altitudes. We mentioned that a little bit earlier. Overview prescribes the altitudes governing IFR operation of aircraft, as well as includes mountainous areas and changeover points. So our subparts, general, defines our maximum authorized altitude, minimum crossing altitude, minimum en route altitude, minimum obstruction clearance altitude, minimum reception altitude, and changeover point. B, designated mountainous areas, has latitudes and longitudes along with graphics. C, en route IFR altitudes over particular routes and intersections. And then D are changeover points. So for this one, unless it's designated, which is this right here, the changeover point between navigation aids is going to be the midpoint of the route. Or if we got nav-aid, and there goes like that, our change is going to be at the turn. So let me zoom in on this one a little bit. So this little designation here, this will be not at a midpoint along a route. So if that is shown, then it's going to have its DME here. So if you're coming this way, can you see my mouse? So if you're coming this way from a navigational aid and you reach this, wherever the DME is, that's where you change over to the next navigation aid frequency. Oops. 14 CFR 97 are standard instrument procedures. So overview prescribes instrument approach procedures and weather minimums for IFR takeoffs and landings, includes obstacle departure procedures. Our primary documents used for this are incorporated by reference. It says, we'll kind of come back to this here. So subparts general include symbols and terms, and then our TIRPs, terminal instrument procedures. So the referenced order, there's an order, very long one, that is referenced here, contains the design criteria for these procedures. But they are depicted the way that we utilize them on our published chart, U.S. Terminal Procedures publication. So yeah, that one. Instrument flying handbook. So we'll come back to these a little bit, I think. Yes, we will. Instrument flying handbook. So we are done. We are done with our FARs. Now we're on to our other publications. Our instrument flying handbook. Purpose being it details aeronautical knowledge and skills for IFR and IMC operation and reflects the most used practices and principles. General content, keeping in mind, once again, this is specific to IFR operation. So National Aerospace System, specific to IFR operation, ATC system, etc. ATC system, human factors, aerodynamic factors, flight instruments, airplane attitude instrument flying, airplane basic flight maneuvers, helicopter, witchcraft, navigation systems, IFR flight procedures, and emergency operations. So if you have a question about any sort of those things, you can probably find some sort of answer in this book. It is revised occasionally by the FAA to update for latest practices. And now we're on to our Aeronautical Information Manual. So purpose of this being, I feel like I should have moved I should probably move the Aeronautical Information Manual above this one, but we'll see if I remember to do that. It's not quite necessary. Purpose of our Aeronautical Information Manual provides basic flight information and ATC procedures in the United States. General content is specific to IFR operations, so we should be familiar with our FAR aim, right? But the one specific to IFR operation includes Chapter 1, Air Navigation, Chapter 3, Airspace. Our three big ones, Chapter 4, ATC, Chapter 5, Air Traffic Procedures, Chapter 6, Emergency Procedures, see there, two-way radio communications failure, emergency procedure, Chapter 7, Safety of Flight, and Chapter 9, Aeronautical Charts and Related Publications. Practical Test Standards and Airman Certification Standards. Purpose of this, so our FARs, as we talked about, specify the specific knowledge and skill areas required to demonstrate proficiency before issuing certain all the certificates. The FAA is then permitted to publish our PTS and ACS containing task lists. Basically a blueprint for your check ride. So very good to get familiar with and have the correct dated one before your check ride. But you want to be practicing training for proficiency and then prep for the check ride. You don't want to be teaching to the test. There's a lot more that goes into actual flying for each rating than what's shoved into the test, right? You don't typically fly the way that you check ride. So keeping that in mind. Our current PTS, there are digital ones available. Sport, recreational, and instrument flight instructor. And then the current ACS, digital also available. These are slowly replacing the PTS, so eventually we won't have those anymore. But the ones that they have is private instrument. So as an instrument student, that's the one that you'd have. Commercial, flight instructor, ATB, and type ratings. Chart supplement, formerly known as the Airport and Facility Directory. This is a civil flight information publication put out every 8 weeks by NACO, which is the National Aeronautical Charting Office, a division of the FAA. And this is our directory for specific airports. Public airports, seaplane bases, heliports, communication data, navigation facilities, and special notices and procedures. We should be familiar with this from our VFR flying, but you might use a little bit more additional information within it for that IFR flying. It is vital for cross-country planning, includes all pertinent info regarding specific airports like we talked about, flight service station contact info, and other things. It is also available digitally. Our standard instrument departures and terminal arrivals, also known as, so our standard instrument departures first are SIDS. These are pre-planned IFR ATC departure and obstacle avoidance procedures. Purpose of this is to provide a way to safely depart the airport or an airport and transition to the en route phase. I mean, we could do that with ATC, however, so these provide obstacle clearance protection, but it also, you use these to reduce communications and even departure delays. If ATC is working with other stuff over here, if we're able to fly a SID, then we could get off the ground easier and not have to bother ATC so much. So general content, both textual and graphical. Textual is listed by airport in the TPP, or Terminal Procedures publication. Section C, IFR takeoff minimums and departure procedures. And the graphic, this graphic is included after each respective airport's instrument approach procedure. So these will provide obstacle clearance only if, 3 things, whatever aircraft you're flying clears the end of the runway at, clears the end of the runway at least 35 feet AGL, climbs to 400 feet above airport elevation before turning, and climbs at least 200 feet per nautical mile unless a higher gradient is specified. So 400 feet before turning. In VFR flying, we typically make our turns at 700 feet AGL. So for instrument flying, we're going to be at least 400 feet AGL. These are revised every 56 days, and you must fly them if they are assigned and you accept them. You can file no SID, but you may get vectored along it anyway, so it's good to be familiar with and just, make it a good practice. Standard instrument departures and terminal arrivals. So we took off and we departed. That's our standard instrument departure, then en route, and then our arrivals, standard terminal arrival routes, would then go into an approach and then a landing. So pre-planned IFR ATC arrival procedures. So transitions from the en route structure to a terminal area fix from which an approach can be made. Graphical with textual description as well, shown by airport in TPP, section P, standard terminal arrival charts. And that's what these kind of look like. So again, revised every 56 days, must fly if assigned, can file no star, but may get vectored anyway as well. En route charts, low altitude. These are our aeronautical charts for en route IFR navigation below 18,000 feet MSL. Purpose of them being, it is the equivalent of a VFR sectional chart and allows us to effectively navigate en route under instrument conditions. So we got our legend here. This is what it kind of looks like on the front, and this is just a little excerpt from, we've looked at these, right? Yay. Big en route chart. Okay. So that's what that kind of looks like. General content, it's got airport info, charted IFR altitudes, all of those. Navigation features, nav aids, airways and intersections, communication features. Also revised every 56 days, and you are able to familiarize with the FAA Aeronautical Chart User's Guide. How friendly. Updated with new symbology or changes in depiction of information. Standard instrument approach charts. We have done these. We have done these. Purpose being, it provides a method to descend and land safely in low visibility conditions. General content gives maneuvers, including altitude changes, shown here, as course corrections, as shown here, as well as other sorts of limitations. Main sections of our plate being margin identification, up here, down here, top and bottom, airport location, and procedure identification. So when you're briefing your approach, make sure that you're doing the right approach with the right equipment at the right airport. Plan view here, we got an overhead view of the approach procedure, and then our profile view here gives a side view of the approach procedure. So we can have this nice mental picture, three-dimensional mental picture of how the approach is supposed to look to maintain that situational awareness. Yes, so the profile view illustrates the vertical approach path altitudes, headings, distances, got those down here, and any fixes. Landing minimums down here, and any notes show our lowest altitude as well as visibility requirements that we talked about earlier. Airport diagram here gives a detailed diagram of the airport, including surface features and airport configuration info, so that we know what we're going to be looking for, as well as so that we can maneuver around the airport after landing. Also revised every 56 days, so make sure, particularly in the briefing, that they are up to date. Here's that right here. This one is clearly not up to date. So include that in your approach briefing. In conclusion, we made it. Instrument flying requires proper cooperation within the national airspace system under air traffic control. These procedures and regulations are intended for safety as well as efficient traffic flow in a variety of situations, includes weather situations, equipment, resources, emergency situations, routes of flight, and conditions of the airport. So very important to practice, plan with, and consult. Plan with, consult, and understand. That's an important one. Understand the material in order to accomplish successful, legal, and safe flights. Any questions? We made it. So it is looking good now. So I am assuming that there was, yeah, just a potential bandwidth issue. So yes, apologies for that. I appreciate you guys so much. But yes, we're looking good. We're looking good now. So let's, but yeah, if you had any questions, critique, be mean, kind of, not too mean. Let me know if there's anything else that, yeah, should be in there. But yeah, or if anything didn't quite make sense, we'll talk about we kind of talked about the leaving the clearance limit thing. So we'll see if we have to go over that again once we pick our airport. But for now, we'll start looking for that. So that's my one PowerPoint. The navigation equipment and instruments and navigation equipment one, I have that one as well. I also have the coming back. There it is. Okay. So yes, so have one and hang on. Yep, so I have one and I have two. I also have three, sorry, B and D, but potentially not required, question mark. And then pre-flight preparation. I have C kind of. So yes, I have that one for doing with the plane itself. So we'll see if I need to figure out how to do that in an office setting, question mark. So cross-country flight planning, I don't specifically have in a lesson plan for, so I'll probably have to work on that coming up. So yes, if we get a chance, the next one we'll be doing is the aircraft flight instruments and navigation equipment, and maybe I think I have the instrument flight deck check included in that one. So I guess we'll see if I need it. Yeah, I do. I have it. Yeah, I have a flight, one of my flight like lesson plans for that. So it's not like all thorough like that. It's more, I have an aircraft as a as a helper. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, so yeah. Yeah. Okay, anyway. Let's find out where we are potentially going to be flying. Hopefully. Let's find a very scattered place. Fairly scattered. So I do need, again, according to our what's it here? Where is it? If we're going off of this one now. So yeah, so if we're going off of this one now, I do need to do all of the things. So, and that is what I did. I was able to fly with for instructor, and we did full mock. We did a RNAV circling. We did an ILS to a low approach, so probably, yeah, I guess a missed. And then RNAV straight in. So we're gonna probably try to do that then. Question. I almost want to do a VOR circling. Because because you know what? This is probably gonna be perfect. It's a Delta, but that's okay because I'm gonna be doing a Delta airport. Planning. So what happened was, again, I was talking to the other instructor who took his double I, and he said he had to go do the VOR and ILS somewhere else because both of the VOR and ILS at the airport were out of service. So I am probably going to get VOR, ILS, and then an RNAV back into just the Delta that I'm flying out of. So we'll go like that, and then can I go like this and plan that there? Excellent. And then we'll go like, nope, not like that. There. So we're doing VOR runway 18 right. Open like a new tab. ILS 18 left. Oh, that's going to be interesting. So we'll do probably the VOR first. And there's an arc. There's another arc. VOR first, and then one of the 3-6 left or 3-6 right. Preference? Let's see what they look like. Does not look giving. I guess we're gonna do giving. Yep. Betchy. Well, that one's fun to say too. But no, we'll do giving. Okay, so we're gonna do the VOR first. So VOR runway 18 right. Greenville mid delta GLH. So let's check what our weather is going to be. $190. So we're going to take off. Well, that's annoying. We're going to take off 190. And we'll go like that. And then we'll go back up. And then we'll go like that. And then we'll go like that. Amazing. Yeah, that'll be fine. Probably give ourselves a right turn. Ah, not that anymore. Okay. Double checking. Okay. So, also let me, there. Oh, oops, hang on. Sorry, I just realized my other checker was not on. There. Huh? Huh? Okay, good. So, flam. We get to go over some of what we talked about for our approaches. So, VOR, we're going to take off, like we said, we're going to take off runway 18. Yeah, 18 right. Let's do 18 right. Take off that way. We can go directly to the IAF, do our 2000. No procedure turn, boom. So we're just going to go directly in through there. So we'll be coming in. So we'll brief it fully. VOR runway 18 right, Greenville, mid-delta. It is correct. It is up to date until next weekish. Yeah, next week. VOR DME 114.25, approach course 183, runway length 7,019, touchdown zone elevation 128. DME is required. We'll have our frequencies in, including Greenville. We'll identify that or make sure it's identified. MSA is 3,200. So we're going to come on our arc at 2,000. Okay, so yeah, so keeping this one in mind, this is for the procedure turn. If we're coming from Jizru, then that's going to be at we're going to be at 2,000 coming here, procedure turn, then coming in here. And then once we boom are turning here, so there's a procedure turn and then there's the arc. We'll be doing the arc 2,000. And then once we start our turn, we get established on that VOR course, which is 1 dot deflection. Then we can get down to 1,800. At Jizru, we can get down to our straight in. Actually, for this one, we'll do this. Oh, sorry, 18 left. We'll take off 18 left, and then we'll be coming in for 18 right. We'll do our circling. We'll do circling for this one. So 600 is our circling minimums. So then we're going to circle right of the runway in a left traffic pattern to runway 36 left. At which point we would probably go missed approach because we're going to fly into a cloud. We will turn back towards the runway and finish off with climbing to 2,000, direct to GLH. Climb to 2,000 on GLH, VOR DME radial 176 to Flam intersection. GLH 12 DME and hold. So, missed approach. Let's look at it again. Missed approach. So we would climb towards the runway once we're at 2,000. Then we can, climb straight ahead for our getting to there. Missed approach point. Teardrop entry. Excellent. Then, we would go to our RNAV. Yeah, RNAV 3. Oh, yeah, that'll be perfect. So yeah, we will. We'll do that missed approach. Boom. So then we'll be going straight out this way. So that we can come into Let me see what the ILS is. Yeah, I think I want to try to do the Pisces. Sorry, I'll scroll in a little bit. Go to Pisces and then go here, or I don't want to have to deal with that. So we'll just go to here, our instrument approach, fix. We'll do one, we'll enter the hold. Maybe we'll do one turn in the hold and then we'll come in. So RNAV, runway 36 left, Greenville, GLH, it is correct. It is up to date. Approach course 001, runway length 7019, touchdown zone elevation 130. It is an RNP approach, GPS for uncompensated, irrelevant. Have our view over here, our upward view here. So we're gonna go like so and come in. We're gonna be between 2,000 and 6,000. We're probably just gonna be at 2,000 because that's what our missed approach point is, or our missed approach altitude is. And then once we're at Kevin, once we get to Kevin, then we can start our descent to 1,800, not too far. So we don't want to drop it. 1,800, and then LPV 454. So once we hit our DA, then we can start our missed approach. And then that missed approach is going to be straight ahead to 2,000 to Izami. Izami being that direction. ILS then, we will probably just try to do a procedure turn. Yeah. I was like, I wish that there was a way to, oh, this is gonna go like this. I wish there was a way to, hang on, so we go like that, and then we did the procedure turn, so we can go like that, and like that. Sorry, I was just wondering if I should, hello! Angle of attack, thank you for the follow, appreciate you. Putting up with me and my, I haven't done too many shenanigans yet because we haven't quite gotten into the plane. But yes. Hello, hi there, how's it going? We're just planning our flight. So fingers crossed. It has, it's been looking good so far. So we'll hope that it continues that way. So yes, sorry, I was just trying to figure out, so like if I went like that, did the procedure turn first? Should we maybe do that? Maybe, yeah, so maybe for our VOR, hang on. It's kind of the same thing, right? Sorry. Okay, hang on. So let's find Izami and then Lobdi. Good, quite well. We've been having some technical difficulties, so like that's kind of a bummer. But other than that, I think it's going well. Other than that, Lobdi. So yeah, so here's Lobdi. We would, okay, hang on. Is it not gonna show Izami? But yes, how are you? Hope you are well. Izami. Did I spell it wrong? Very much so. There we go. Okay. Okay, so I think what we're gonna do is we are gonna do the full missed approach. off of the RNAV. Because Izami is within lob D. So, yeah, we'll do the missed approach, put ourselves into a hold, get this one set up, and then once we're coming back in like that, then we can continue. I like that idea. I like that idea. Let's plan for that. Okay. So, ILS or localizer runway 18 left. We did do this one, right? Yes, we did. Full missed approach. ILS or localizer runway 18 left. Greenville, it is correct. It's up to date. 109.1 for our localizer, approach course 181, runway length 7981, touchdown zone elevation 129. In-op table does not apply to straight in ILS, 18 left, all cats, and straight in localizer, 18 left, cats, Alpha and Bravo. Oh. Oh, nice. For in-op ALS, increase the localizer, 18 left, cat, C and D, irrelevant. Excellent. So we're looking for a Mauser. There that is right there. And this is our alternate takeoff minimums, but we're landing for this one, so that should be fine. Oh, there's takeoff there, but we're doing missed approaches, so gosh darn it, I guess we will look at those. So yes. Anyway, sorry, continue. Well, I guess we'll unnecessary GLH. Takeoff obstacle notes. Runway 18 left, runway 18 right. Okay, now I have to figure out how to... I feel kind of silly. I guess I kind of assumed that the T would be in that. In the TPP. Okay, I'm gonna get off this for a second so that I can TPP. Boom. Ha. That's what I thought. Oh no! No! Sorry, hang on. Ah. Okay, so I guess I'm kind of confused. So we have... Says that there are alternate takeoff minimums. Am I looking at the wrong thing? GLH. It doesn't say. It doesn't say. Oh, guess that's fine. Well, hang on. Find GLH. Nope, that's just one. This is one.